Tanzanian-born novelist Abdulrazak Gurnah has won the Nobel Prize in Literature, the fifth African to win the prestigious award. The Nobel Committee in Stockholm hailed the post-colonial academic's unflinching portrayal of the effects of colonialism and the trauma experienced by refugees. The 72-year-old was born on the Indian Ocean island of Zanzibar in 1948 and began writing after moving to England as a refugee, where he is now based. He obtained a PhD in 1982 in the UK's University of Kent, where he worked until his retirement. He expressed hope that his Nobel nod would spark greater discussion of the issues in his novels, such as the plight of refugees and colonialism. The World Health Organization this week endorsed the use of the world's first vaccine for malaria. It is a glimmer of hope in the fight against the mosquito-borne disease, which kills a child worldwide every 2 minutes.
This long-awaited malaria vaccine is a breakthrough for science, child health, and malaria control. Using this vaccine in addition to existing tools to prevent malaria could save tens of thousands of young lives each year.
The decision followed a review of the pilot program of the vaccine, known as RTS-AS01, deployed in Ghana, Kenya and Malawi in 2019. It was found to reduce severe malaria, which is deadly, by 30%. More than half of malaria deaths worldwide were in 6 sub-Saharan African countries, and almost a quarter in Nigeria alone in 2019. Many vaccines exist against viruses and bacteria, but this was the first time that the WHO recommended for broad use a vaccine against a human parasite. A new president takes his oath of office. On the surface, it's a familiar procedure. But the full picture in Guinea is far from ordinary, and the way forward remains unclear. Army Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya seized power on September the 5th, and will now act as interim president for a still unknown period. He pledges to step down in eventual elections, and that the military will leave the stage to allow the return to civilian rule.
I would like to reiterate my commitment that neither I nor any member of the National Committee for Rally and Development or the transitional bodies will be a candidate in the upcoming elections.
But the junta has given no date for a vote. More than a month on, ousted President Alpha Condé is still held in an unknown location, despite appeals from the international community for his release. Meanwhile, Chad inaugurated a transitional parliament. Polls are due next year, but that timetable looks increasingly unlikely. The parliament only took shape 5 months after Mahamat Idris Deby took over power following the death of his father, longtime leader Idris Deby Itno. General Deby had also promised that a national dialogue would be a precondition for any elections, but this has yet to be organised. Attempts at reconciliation with political opposition and the rebel groups in the north of the country have so far failed.
Abiy Ahmed.
On the eastern end of the continent, there's no change at the top in Ethiopia. Abiy Ahmed began a new 5-year term as Prime Minister on October the 4th, after his Prosperity Party won a crushing victory in June elections. Ahmed's first term was initially marked by a wave of reforms and optimism that even saw him awarded the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize. But a civil conflict in the north of the country that broke out in November 2020 has tarnished his reputation as a peacemaker. The 11-month-old war in the Tigray region has cost tens of thousands of lives. And Addis Ababa's relationship with the United Nations has taken a turn for the worse, after Ethiopia expelled 7 UN officials accused of meddling in its internal affairs.
I urge the government to allow the unrestricted movement of desperately needed fuel, cash, communications equipment and humanitarian supplies into all the regions in need.
The UN has denounced a de facto blockade surrounding Tigray that prevents access for most humanitarian aid. It has warned of unprecedented malnutrition and the potential for a devastating famine similar to what the country experienced in the 1980s. As Mali's relations strain with former colonial power France, it grows ever closer to Russia. The West African nation received delivery of 4 Russian helicopters this week. Malian Defence Minister Colonel Sadio Kamara vaunted the growing partnership with Moscow at a moment when France is reducing its military presence in the Sahel region. Mali is also reportedly in talks with Russian private security firm the Wagner Group, which has no official links to Moscow but is considered close to President Vladimir Putin.
John Guy Moses learned fly fishing from an uncle as a young man in the rivers of Mathioya in central Kenya. Since then, he's been hooked.
Fishing is the best game I have in life. Fishing is the only thing that makes me happy.
Today, John is a guide for visitors who come from all over the world to fish in Kenya's highlands. Britain introduced trout here in the early 1900s, in the days of colonialism. The Kenya Fly Fishers Club, one of the oldest in Africa, was started 102 years ago. Fish don't draw the same crowds of tourists as the Big Five on Kenya's savannas. But the region offers remarkable experiences, says Zach Gishane, who owns a fishing lodge.
Imagine spending the morning from dusk to afternoon fishing, and the afternoon out taking pictures of the wild animals. Where else can you have this? And you have the opportunity to fish inside and outside the park among the elephants, and you are fishing for trout. This is the only place.
There's even a thriving local fly tying industry which supplies customers from Norway to New Zealand. These artificial tiny baits are designed to imitate the insects fish eat. Some estimates suggest a third of the flies used in Europe come from Kenya. John Nyapola custom designs fishing flies for export around the world.
Most of the customers outside, they prefer working in Kenya with Kenyans. So they give us big orders. By having big orders, you'll have to employ more people.
Enthusiasts think promoting the sport can create jobs and help protect the rivers. At one point, 2,000 kilometers of trout fishing rivers crisscrossed Kenya. Today, it is much less. Veteran fisherman Musa Ibrahim explains.
Pressureful land is making water obstruction more prevalent in most of the good trouting sports that we had in this country. And conservation, if we don't conserve what's left now, in the next generation, in the next 30 years, we will not have any good trout rivers left in this country.
But John and Musa are perhaps unique. Many people who live in Mathioya Valley see fly fishing as a vestige of the colonial era. Here, they fish to eat rather than for fun.